Am I audible now? Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let me start. I think there was a problem with my uh, so it would be a pretty long session, and to finish up with a how we can do a section view or an elevation view and a sheet. So I'll be covering almost all the kind of topics that are required for uh, that is required for the interiors, and we can also see the rendering part, a bit of rendering part to finish, to wrap it up in 2 hours. That is my target today. So I'll be having a non-stop session, uh, walls, doors, windows, stairs. So I'll be taking these very thing into a very brief kind of discussion, not going for a detailed one. So let's say I rename the, first of all, I will be having 2 levels to start with. Let's say one floor I am doing, one is the ground floor. So here I'm not putting columns into consideration. It will be only walls, partition wall, ceiling, and I'll take a finished floor kind of thing. And this is the first floor. So I put it, name it as first floor. So levels should be there. So let the height, the clear height between two finished floor is, let's say, 3400 in this, and let us name it as FFL. And similarly, I can name this as ground floor. So there is a nomenclature that GA drawings, GA layout. Similarly, I'm not, so no means I'm not changing the level name, but the view name is changed. And first floor GA layout. Okay. Okay. So I'm sharing the screen at this moment. So I have basically put 2 levels here, and let me share the YouTube link to, let's say, the WhatsApp group. So let us start with walls. So we will be creating 2 walls. One is for interior walls, and the other is uh, for the exterior walls, and see how the properties can be given to the walls and how can we do. For that, let's say I am putting a grid. So this is basically grid 1. So I'm having another grid, let's say at 3000. So I can have an offset over here. So there's a grid. So I name it as A. So let me have another grid, let's say 3,500. So give it a plan like this. So I name it as C3, and here I go for another grid. Let's say I go with for 3,500. So let us put it as, and let me have another grid of 3,500 and put it into C. So I'm just pulling off information, and here in the view control bar for this particular view, I can set the scale to 1:50. So setting the scale is to 1:50 means I am scaling the annotations and the text. So now let me tell you how to create walls. For that, there is a tool over here. There is a wall tool, and there are two types of walls that you can create. One is the architectural wall and the other is the structural wall. Now to create an architectural wall, that means architectural walls are non-load bearing walls that are basically basic walls that we see in the superstructure, like the partition wall or the brick wall or the block work or the wooden wall. So these are the walls that we talk about. So normal sketching pattern of wall, like for example, I want to create a wall. So before we go to the grid, let me show you the sketching pattern of wall. So once you click on the wall tool here, so there is basically a tab, this contextual tab is displayed, and there are some sketching tool over here. Now let's quickly see how the sketching tool works. So there's a line tool over here. So here, let's say I click on the first point, click on the 7. Now you can see that there's a dimension, that is the length and the angle is showing. So if you want to use this length and angle, you can always snap and click. Now later on, let's say, go to modify. If you want to change the length of the wall, so you have two grips, you can always have a change. Let's say I can make it as a 9-meter wall. So 9 meter. In Revit, there is a unit transfer option. That means if you put here in feet inches, 10 feet 3, so automatically it changes into millimeter. Let's say I want to have a 20 feet 6 inches wall. So it will change into millimeter. And the other thing that you can see is the grips. So you can pull down, you can have it in a particular angle, right? And you can change the angle later on, let's say 45 degree. So you can basically create the wall, incline the wall in horizontal, and make walls in any direction. So this is what the wall sketching is. Let us do more sketching. So let's say I want to create a wall. Now let's say I do sketching. So I'm just teaching you how to sketch a wall. So here you can sketch it, and later on, if you want to change the dimension of the wall, you can basically click on the wall. You can see the reference over here. So let's say you want a spacing of 3200, so you can change it to 3200. Let's say if you want to join this one, you can join this, you can drag this corner and join this. And then later on, if you can move this, yesterday I talked about move command, and so if you select and drag it, so it will be moved. So if I select a wall and drag it to a part, I can move it. So there are different options of changing the moving the wall. One is select the wall, go with the temporary dimensions, select the temporary dimension that you want to work into it, and it works. So there are certain tools that works with the wall. One is the modify tool, where trim extend to corner, trim extend single element, trim extend multiple elements, right? Move, copy, align, offset, mirror. split. So we can do one by one. So let's talk about trim or extend to corner. Now let's say there is a wall which is basically in this particular situation. I want to join this wall and make a corner over here. So I click on this tool, trim extend to corner, or say TR, click on it, select the wall in the lower portion, click on it, so it is joined. Let me do it again. Select the trim or extend to corner or press TR in the keyboard. Click on the tool, select one of the wall, and if you select the another wall, the path will be shown. So along with the path, there is a tooltip that is showing the type of the wall. We will discuss about type of the walls and various properties of the wall in the later discussion. So here we go. So this is how you can fillet the corner, or you can make the corner. Let us take another example. So I'm selecting it and let's say deleting it. So I have a wall. So shortcut for wall is WA. So let's create the wall first and let's say press escape. So you have this, right? You have wall and you have this. Now there is one option called, now if you go for trim to corner, it will be trimmed like this. Or if you select the bottom portion and do this, so it will be, first of all, I've selected the top portion, the L shape is created here. So you can check with the option. Let's say if I want to make an L section over here, select the top portion, select the other portion. So it will be L section over here. So it works like this. So let me undo it. And so here I am going along with the trim tool. So it is a single trim or extend works together. So let me have a wall tool again here. So if I go with the trim or extend tool, so I click on it. So if I want to trim this particular wall from here, so I select the boundary of this wall and click this option, so it will be trimmed. Similarly, I want to trim this wall, so I select the boundary option, select the part I want to keep, so it is trimmed. Select the boundary option, select the part I want to keep, so it is trimmed. Select the boundary option and select the part I want to keep, so it is trimmed. So this is the trimming option. Now coming back to the extend option. So let's say I have got some walls over here and I want to extend the wall to this boundary edge, or I have this wall, I want to extend to this boundary edge. So I have this extend option. I can use the same option. So select the boundary edge, trim, select the boundary edge, extend. Now I want to trim over here, select the cutting edge and keep the point that you want to, let's say the area that you want to keep. So this is how you use this tool, trim or extend single element. Now if there is a multiple element, so multiple elements works like this. Uh, it works like this. So if you have a wall and let's say, and you have a wall which is having a lot of extensions like here, right? And like here, and like here. So there is one cutting edge and there are multiple objects to trim. So I will use the multiple trim extend to select the cutting edge. And if I want to keep this portion, it will be there. I want to keep this portion, it will be there if I want to keep this portion. Similarly, if I want to extend it, so I can do the same thing. So if I want to extend this over here, so I have this multiple, this is the boundary edge, just you can do the multiple extension. So this is where the trim and extend command are used. So we'll be doing array tool and scale tool later on to see how it works. So next I will be taking you to the tool called offset. Now let's say you have a wall. So I have not yet covered about exterior wall and interior wall, but I'm just giving you the sketching tool. Now let us do some other sketching tool like arc. So you go to the architectural wall. So you have this, so you can create a rectangular wall by clicking the rectangle option, click on one point and go there. So a rectangular wall will be created. Now, if you want to dimension it, select the wall. So you say, okay, fine, I want to have it at 30 feet. So it will be in mm. Similarly, you want to have a 60 feet. It will be on. So here we will do this in this grid later on, but I'm teaching you how the rectangular tool works. Now I will see how the offset tool works. So we'll be doing arc and polygon tool later on. So I have the wall over here and then I go for the offset tool. So I click the offset tool and here I give an offset. Let's say I want an offset of 3 meters. So let's say I want to have a 3 meters offset. So I take this. So there are two options, numerical and graphical, and there's a copy option. So let's in the options bar. So let's keep the offset 3000 over here. Or let's say you want to have 13 feet 3 inches. So people who are comfortable in feet inches. So you can basically click on here. Now, if you click on this part, the dotted lines will be in the left. It's showing that offset will be created there. The copy will be created there. But just move the mouse. So you need to place the offset in the right hand side. So click on it. So now if you measure it, you will find that there's a particular distance that has been done from center to center. So now if from the clear space, you want to have, let's say 12 feet, 5 inches. So the clear dimension can be that. So if you want to check the dimension, go to the annotate tab. There's an align dimension over here and take the face, not the center line, because you want to check the clear space. So it is 3785. So now if you want to have, let's say 15 feet space at the vertical, so let's say if I want to have offset of 12 feet 3 inches, so I can basically go along with this and here. And now there's a room that I have made. I want to create it. But before that, I can do a corner trimming or a fillet. So a room is created. Now let's check the dimension. Go to the annotate, go to the align, and again take wall faces. So you can have this clear dimension. So if you want to have the clear dimension as, let's say 12 feet 3 inches, so so this is how you create you use the rectangular tool to. Now in any case, let's say if you want to have the distance from this wall to this wall from face to face, normally architects take it from center line, but from the interior we are doing a clear portion. So what I can do is I can put an align dimension over here, put a dimension. So putting a dimension will create a constraint between these two elements. Now if I select this, so the constraint comes to a editable dimension. So I can have the editing part. I can move it. Let's say I want to have a 15 feet 3 inches space. So now basically I have a setback or a clear space between this wall and this wall as 4 feet, 4648. So I can delete it, and later on I can put a dimension of my own. Let's say in the line dimension, I can go with the wall center line and click on it and have the center line dimension. So this is how I use the rectangle tool to develop, and I taught you what is the offset command. So again, there is a tool called mirror and align. I will take that later on. So you can have the move tool. Let's say if I want to use the move tool, move this wall to, let's say, I want to move this at a particular, so get the direction and which you want to move and give a value. Let's say you want to move 5 feet 6 inches, put the value, so it will be moved. So here, basically I'm talking about the sketching part. Now I come back, let me see if people are watching in YouTube. uh, so yeah, there are participants in YouTube also. Nice. So right, so let's not worry about it. uh, I will be checking it. So now coming back to it in the architecture part, now I have this the wall tool, and here in the wall tool I have this polygon tool. So I can create inscribed polygon and circumscribed polygon. So you guys know what is the difference between inscribed and circumscribed that you have done in AutoCAD. So just need to revisit it. So select the inscribed polygon means a polygon which is created inside a circle. So I need a hexagonal or a pentagonal wall form, boundary wall. So I click on it. So the moment I click, there is a side option over here. Let's say 5. I give the side. I'm not going along with this option now. I will tell you later on. So click on it, and then you need to give the radius of the circle. That is, you can see the virtual circle is there. So keep on creating it. So you can always play with the angles that has been displayed. So if you are having a 90-degree angle and the radius, let's say you want to put it as 15 feet, so you can always have, or a 45 feet radius. So after that, the radius and the other option is now not available. Now you can basically modify the dimension based on the parametrism. So now you cannot make it to hexagon or something. So now you can start doing the offset. So let's say I do start doing the offset, and now here comes the align tool. I'll be talking about the align tool also. So here, let's say I take an offset of, and here I take an offset of, let's say 10 feet, right? And so now let's say I want to create a wall from here, and I want to join it at this part. So, the angle is maintained. So you can see the 90-degree angle is maintained. Let's say I want to put it enough, let's say apart from that, I want to have an angle, let's say more than 90, let's say 120 degree. I can maintain the angle. So now there are two controls. One is the control for the angle and the length. So you want to have a length of, let's say 10 feet. You can have a length of 10 feet. So a lot of things that you can do with the parametrism of Revit dimensions. So let me delete it, and so you can try the other options. I'm not going to take much time on this. Let's take a circular shape. So you can have click on it and you can try it. Let's say you want to take a radius of, let's say uh, 20 feet. So a circle wall is created. So it is always fascinating to see it in the 3D, but uh, so the 3D view, let's say this is the old project that we were doing. Let me come up with the new one that I was doing right now. Right. So I was doing the the project. Let me close this project. Let me close this project. Let me come up with the example one. Okay, I'm just closing it. For the sake, we will open it later on. Right. So here we are. So this is where I was doing. So I go to the tab view. So you can see the 3D part of it. So it is always fascinating to see the 3D part. So here we are. So let me come. So now you can see that it is into two sections. You can select the 3D part and change the height. I'll be talking about how you can change the height in the later case. So we'll be playing with doors, windows, openings in a bigger way, and then create uh, things. Any questions are welcomed, and I can come and answer it. But let me take it to another level. So this is a circle, and then you can basically drag on the circle and increase the radius of it. Let's say I want to make it 12,000 or 12 meters. So anytime I can do it. So here comes the another sketching tool, which is the now in Revit 2021, slanting walls are introduced. So I will open up. So these are modified option in 21. Previously, slanting walls are not possible in Revit. But in 2021, they have introduced a slanting wall. Prior to that, they have uh, introduced the elliptical wall. Okay. Other thing that I will teach you is how to import an AutoCAD drawing and bring it to Revit. So that will be the second part. First, I will create the in next half an hour. I'll teach you how to create doors, windows, and components, and then I will go and import the AutoCAD drawings and start working into it. So it will be a long session. Today it's a weekend, so we can enjoy listening to us ourselves and see how we can help. We are relatively out of other things. Let me come back again. So you have this arc. So start end radius, center end arc, and there is a tangent end arc. So first of all, I want to make this option fillet arc. Teach you this option. So for that, I would like the 3D view to be there so that you can see how the filleting works are done. So, okay, let me save this and close it for a while. So I will open it later on. Okay, great. So let me tile the view and coming back to it. So now I want to have a curved wall at this particular point. So I go for architecture. I want to have a fillet. So for the fillet, I have to go to the architecture wall, and here there's a fillet arc. Click, so you can have a fillet. So you can always have a curve wall fillet, and then you can change the radius of it. Let's say if you want to change the radius to 3200, let me change the radius to 3200 and 3200. So this is how I can fillet the walls at the end, right? And so how do I do? So let me put it again. So I delete this. Let me make a corner over here. Again, revise the corner tool. So you can have the corner tool here. And I want to make a fillet over here. So here is the fillet tool. And I can make a fillet tool and fillet it. So if the corner tool is not there, will the fillet tool work? Answer is yes. So again, you take a wall tool, go to the fillet, select it, and a suitable arc will be created. So let me go with the fillet tool, and so there is no chamfer. So if I want to chamfer the wall over here, so what I do is I corner it here, and I take a wall over here. So I put a inclination here, and then I'll go for a chamfered distance later on and tell you how will I do it. But before that, um, let me put it like this. So I can always go with the the linear dimensioning. So we'll see how the linear dimensioning will work, not at this particular stage. So I can always have the linear dimension in play, but we'll see how it will work. But here, basically, I can always uh, have some kind of chamfering at the corner. So you can have the angles also. Let's say I want to create an angle. Let's say I want to have it in a particular 45-degree angle, so I can change it. Then I can fillet it. Fillet means the corner. So this is how it is worked. And now coming back to another tool over here. So these are some, which is the arc tool. So this is a very beautiful tool. Let me remove this one, and let me put with the arc tool. So the arc tool says there's a start end radius. So you start the arc from a particular point, end the arc, and give the radius of it. So let's say if you need a radius of let's say particular length, you can give the radius and escape it. So you can change it at any particular time, and there is a there is an option by which you can increase it. So this is the grip, and let's say you need a radius of 3000, so it will be 3000, and there is basically you can change this to a particular point. So the arc tool from the start end, so there is this tool is the center start end and radius of the arc. So so if you have, let's say, some tool which is basically into start end radius, so you can go with this is center end arc. So you have the center. So with this you can. So let's create. So this is how it is created. Then just hold on. Just mute it. So this is what I am trying to do is there is a 5500 over here, and I want to change the radius. So I did it. So then next is basically I want to have a continuous arc. So here there is an option called tangent end arc. So it works like this. So select it, and there will be series of arcs that you can create with it. So you can see that these arcs are created along with the uh, along with the arc walls. So these are all tangent to the existing. So the tangency is maintained over here. So this is all about the tools of that I can tell you about wall. So another thing is that there's a linear grid over here. So I'll tell you how to create a radial grid. So I have a grid option. So let's say I take a grid option, and I can always have the grid as radial. So I can have, let's say, uh, just hold on. So let's say I want to rotate it, this grid. So I'll tell you how to rotate the grid. So let's say I rotate it and put a copy of the grid here. Uh, Grid here. So if I want to create a radial kind of thing, so I can do an array, or I can do a copy. So let me rotate and copy. So let me teach you how to do an array first, the polar array. So because if I have to do with a curved wall, I have to go with a radial grid. So let's say I have a grid over here. It says, let's say the grid is A1. So I have another set of grids over here. Let it be there. So what I do is, first of all, I will teach you how to rotate it. You can rotate any object, but I am teaching you rotating the grid. So there's a rotate tool. By default, the center of rotation, because to rotate anything, you need a center of rotation. So the center of rotation is the midpoint. So what I can do, I can change the center of rotation, place it at this endpoint, and then there is an copy option, and then I can say from where to start and what is the angle. Let's say I want to rotate, have the angle angle step as 30 degrees. So this is another A2 will be at 30 degree with the previous grid. So this is how I can create more and more grid. So let's say I want to have a copy of the grid of another one. So this is how I can do it. Rotate, select the grid, go for rotate, and place the center point at this particular point, copy, and then you can have, you know, the start point as this and the end point is this. So this is the radial grid that I am creating. And then later on in the grid tool, I can have the grid at center and arc. So center point is this. So I can start the grid at this position and click it there. I can start the grid at this position. I can put it there. I can start the grid in this position. I can put it there. So this is how I can create a radial grid. And then what I can do is, in this, I can take the wall. So there is an option of pick line. So I can pick this grid and convert it into a wall. And then the methods that I have taught you, let us use this. So you can go for a multi-trim, select this, select this. So single trim, select this, right? And you can delete this one, or you can extend this one to this point, and you can trim this to this point. And these are some trimming, multiple trimming. Select this. So if you have a wrong selection, you can always avoid it. So you can see this is how you can create a kind of radial wall connection. So this is basically by creating. Now what is happening is, if you change the grid and if you want to align the walls with the grid, I'll teach you how to do that, but that's a constraint that you can do. But for, let's say, for this time purpose, I am going to teach you the array tool also. So delete it. I'm going to create a circular array of the grid. So let's put it like this. So in my book, Revit structure, I have discussed about a round structure, which is around G plus 12. I'll show you that. So I have taught how to create the entire structure using the circular grid. So there are a lot of problems that has been discussed, and there are certain tricks by which you can do it. So it is a very good option that we are learning by application of all the array tool. So we can do later on, use the array tool to create a lot of things. But first of all, if you go with the array tool, you will not find the polar and the rectangular anywhere. So I'll teach you how to go along with the array tool. So let's say I have a grid. So I create a GR by grid tool, and here you are. And then you have the pick line. I have taught about, if there is a line work, I can change it to grid. I'll talk about later on. Then you have a multi-segment grid. So let's not worry. Sorry. So let's create an array of it. So select it, go to the array. So the moment you select it, there is an option called linear and radial. So I'm going to take the radial option, and group and associate. This is a wonderful option that we can go for. But let's say I take this, and I'll tell you if I don't take it, what will happen. So I take group and associate. So this option is also available in AutoCAD array. So let's say I want to go with the number, let's say 12 number. And then I want to go with the last. That means I'm going to define the last part of the array, not the second. So let's say I want to select this, and so the rotation that I wanted to make, let's say, let me put it like this first. So let me correct it. So coming back, so I have a grid. I select the polar array, and then there's a radial array. I click into it, and there is an option how many numbers I want. And then let's say I need 12 numbers, so I go for a last. And then what is the center from which I want to array? So I have a place option over here. So this is a center from which I want to array, and it is an angle which is asking. So let us not worry. So start point of the array and the last point of last line of the array is, let's say this, and I need 12. So let's say, so 12 grids will be copied. So now this is in group. So I can always change the number of items over here. Let's say from 12, I can say, so it is basically in the group, and individual objects are in group in this array. So if I want to change it to 6, I can have 6 items here. Now let's say if I want to give the angle, I select it, I go to the array option, I take the polar array. So let's say last, and I want to have a 270-degree angle, and number of item is 24. Place, I want to place it. So this is why, and that's it. So angle 270, last is, let's say I want to put it here. Let's see how it works. So if I put 0 right now, because this doesn't work sometimes. So the number of, so if you want to put it at this angle, let's say 180 degree. So you can have it in 180 degree. So you can have 12 items over here. And then later on, you can mirror this. So we will see how to mirror. So now this is a radial array, which is 180 degree here. And so you can basically change the last portion. So there's an angle constraint over here. So what you can do is, let's say you have this angle constraint, select it, change the angle constraint. You can have, let's say you want to make it, let's say to a particular point, and change the number of, so once you select this, so this is the constraint that we created. And let's say if I want to have a number of items, so you have to select it. So if I want to have the number of items as 12 and 24, so I can have number of items as 24. So this is how I create. So there are two things that you can see in this array grouping, because I have made it group. And if you want to ungroup it, so there is an option of ungrouping it. So every object will now behave individually. So I can increase the scale from here. And let's say I want to make it 1:200 to see it better. And let's say I'll give some grids over here. And here I go to center, and let's say the center point, and start creating the grids from here. So let's say I create this point, and then I can drag it to a point where I want to create the grid. So this is how I can create different kind of grid patterns. Curve grid pattern or center would be fine. Uh, and then the walls. Why I'm teaching it? Because it helps in uh, inserting walls, columns, and beams in a bigger way. So let's see how it works. So we'll do another example here and then finish off the sketching tools, and then we will go to the. So this is the polar array or the radial array that I discussed. So let's do with the walls. So in the walls we have this pick line option, and then I pick this line, or walls are getting created. Now you can see in the 3D view, right? So the walls are getting created. So the pick line, all the walls will be getting created, and based on the whatever the geometries, you can tweak it. So this is how walls are created, and then you want to trim it. So you have a modify option, there is a multi trimming option, and always there is an option to keep whatever entities you want to keep. So I will be doing the radial array again and again to make sure that you understand the radial array concepts. So this is how the arc tool of wall can be utilized. Now guys, let us now again I will be using this undo in a big way, because I don't know till which part. So I go to the last point and say edit parameter and start it again. So Revit has got very wonderful options if we can use them. The only thing is that we should know how to use these tools. Right? Any questions you have? So I'll give 2 minutes break, and then I will be taking the next advanced tools in the creation part of walls and then openings. Right? Any questions? Please do ask, so that now it is your turn to talk. Any questions you have? No questions? Akshay sir, Sarita ma'am, Sneha ma'am, please speak. Are you watching my video live?
Yes, sir. And
Yes,
we
sir,
are
sir.
in.
Hi Atif, how are you? Atif, I posted the video at night.
Okay, fine. I had issue with current, sir. I'll check today.
We had the webinar till meeting 9:30 in the evening. There was,
Okay. Uh-huh.
so it went around 2.5 hours. Around 130 people joined
Okay. Mhm.
uh, across the world, and it was a. I mean, till yet we have around 180 views in YouTube.
Okay.
We will be doing more sessions with faculties, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just giving a break. I'm drinking some water because is the streaming working in YouTube?
I I am in Zoom. I don't know in YouTube.
Right. The reason why I put YouTube is probably if somebody is out of Zoom,
Uh-huh.
person
I
he or
think I
she.
think it's working, sir. Working in YouTube.
Great. So now there's two options, right? You can go
Yes.
with Zoom as well as with YouTube,
YouTube also.
right? And you can make it don't make it public, because it is, let's say if you're taking a common class, so it can be unlisted or personal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll be having more innovations on online training, how we can make it better. And if you make, let's say if you have some guest lecture, always it is good for the organization that you take live lectures, put it on YouTube so that it is there in the channel. There will be more people who can basically go to the channel and see the lectures, the quality of lectures that you give, right? It's always a good marketing tool as well as a good communication tool. Anyway, so any doubt till yet with the wall tool? No. So I will do with the types of the wall, but prior to that, what I will do is I will teach you how to bring an AutoCAD drawing, right, in AutoCAD drawing in Revit, right? So for that, before I'll have a 15-minute session on wall and wall types. What are the types of wall we can create? And then I will bring the, before creating the door and window, or after creating the door and window, I will teach you how to import the AutoCAD drawings. Fine. Okay. Now coming back, I'll just put it like this. Now, so are you enjoying the sessions? Is the session fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Fine.
So I have this, let's say I put another 3500, great. And let's say I have this. So now I will be going for wall types. So wall types, so for that I'll go to the family. Okay. So if you cannot see my screen, please let me know, because I may not be sometime aware of it. So go to the browser, and here I have this family, and here I have this wall. So I'll create some wall types. So let's say, how do I create the wall types? So there are various wall types that are created. So let's not worry about it. We create our own wall types. So I go to generic one, because generic is a non-standard wall object. So here I go to duplicate, and it means a serious problem. The moment I make duplicate, there's a serious problem. So I make a duplicate and rename it as, let's say, exterior brick wall. Okay, and it is 230 mm. Make sense? And then I have an interior brick wall, which is let's say 150 mm. So I have two walls. Let's make the 230 mm wall first. Click on it. So there are certain, now you see that, just excuse me, I just put the, so here we have this structure. So in the structure, I go with, let's say, 230 mm, and is a core boundary. So it is a, let's say I want to put a brick wall. I select the brick wall material in the material browser. So the moment I click, see how it happens. So in the structure, there is basically function, material, thickness, wraps, and structural material. So I put the thickness over here, and I can see the preview over here. So preview, I can see both in plan and elevation. So I'm seeing it in the plan. So I put the thickness and give the material. So I did a brief discussion yesterday about the material, but let me take it again. So I have, let's say, a brick wall. So I'll be making a wooden wall and a brick wall both. So brick wall, we can change the material later on. So let me put it a brick material, and 230 mm, and press OK. Other things I'll explain later how it happens. Then for the 150 mm wall, so I take it as brick wall 150 mm to, okay, fine. Let the name be the same, and go to the edit part, make it 150 mm, make the material as brick. Okay, and that's fine, and rest is okay, and make it as interior wall. So here you can see there are functions that need to be given to the wall, but this is an interior wall. So the maximum what we can do is rename it and change this to exterior to interior, because the function is interior. And for the exterior one, So exterior brick wall, the function is exterior. So we have got two walls. Let's take the generic one again. Name, let's say I want to have a wooden partition, partition wall. So here I want to have, let's say, now I'm creating a wooden partition wall. So I have it as 75 mm, let's say, at this moment, 3 inches. And I take the material as wood. So, so I can have, let's say, softwood or a plywood. So you have this, if the moment you take the material from here, there is a appearance and there is a graphics, how it looks. So I take it as plywood sheeting and put it okay. So now you have got three, and then this is a interior panel. So you wouldn't, you can, rename it as interior wooden partition wall. Now, apart from that, you want to understand that in the view, there is coarse, fine, and medium view. So let's put the coarse view always. So I'll explain you how and why. So for the wall that you have created, let's say in the wooden partition wall, so I want that in the coarse view, it should look in a different color, let's say solid fill, and in the red color, or let's say in the traditional this color, in the coarse view. But in the fine view, this hatching will come and this color will come. As well, for the exterior wall that I created, this one. So I want to have a different color in the coarse view. Let's say I want to have a red color in the coarse views in order to make it demarcate which is the which one. And then for the exterior wall, uh, 230 mm, I want to have the color as, let's say, uh, orange, and pattern as, say, solid. Apart from that, there is a fire rating for all the walls. So we can always go with the type mark. Let's say for the brick wall 230 mm, I go with the type mark as W1. Fire rating is, let's say, 1 hour or 2 hours. I can have 2 hour fire rating. I can always have some comment into it or a description. These are BIM elements that I will talk about. So W1 is 230, and then I can go with uh, 150, which is W2 type mark, and fire rating is, let's say, 1 hour. I can go for a 1 hour fire rating, and similarly for the, okay, press OK, and for the interior wooden partition wall, I can have a fire rating of, let's say, 1 hour again, and I can name it as W3. So I am having three types of wall, W1, W2, and W3. And I will be having one concrete wall for the shaft. So I'll create another wall. So I have got interior wooden partition, interior brick wall. So I want to create a concrete wall. So I go to generic again. So I want to create a concrete wall, let's say 300 mm. So select here, go to the edit type. Let's say give the thickness to 300 and name the material as concrete. So here in the concrete, I would, say that you go for a concrete sand cement material and press OK. So this is the type of bearing wall, or let's say I can give a bearing wall. The function is bearing. So here the function, you can keep it as the bearing wall, or you can say the core shaft. And you can have always a color to it, solid fill. And let's say I have a color, let's say gray color or some dark color to it. So now here, I'm saving this. Now here you have got different types of walls. Now let's say how we create the wall, how to give the height of the wall, how to basically work on different sections of the wall. So we will come back to it. So now the types are created. Now it is back to the plan. For that, I would suggest that you should have the layer, you should have the elevation also, or the elevation would be fine. Let's say I put up with the all the two elevations. Let's say I would do the north elevation and the west elevation to start with. So let's there are certain non-intersecting grids, so let's make it intersecting. So and then go to the tile view and let's see how it works. So there is a command called ZE, means zoom extend. Click on the view, ZE, zoom extend. Click on the view, ZE, zoom extend. So if you want to use these tools without the command, so here you can go in the navigation bar. So you can have zoom to fit. So you can go to the navigation bar. You can go zoom all to fit. In all views will be fit. If the navigation bar is not visible in a particular view, so you can always, so if this is the case, in this view, let's say the navigation bar is not visible, then what you can do, go to the user interface, it will be visible in the project. So here it comes. Now creating the wall. Now go with the architecture. The first thing that you should see that what is the extent of the wall, how from where to where you want to put the wall extended. Right. So open the properties of the wall. Let me put it here. So I want to have the exterior wall at this particular part. So for this, I use the exterior brick that I have created, 230 mm, and this is the exterior brick wall, 230 mm. I use the course view over here, and there is an option over here, the height. So I will take it to the first floor. Now, in a BIM, you should have the TOS. So I have referred yesterday also the TOS, but now let's say if you have an FFL, let's go with FFL. Later on, we can change the level. So right now the location line is center line. Base constraint, it starts from ground floor FFL. It should be TOS. Base offset at this moment is 0. That means it has no offset from the, there is no difference between the start and the actual start. Similarly, the same thing, and the unconnected height is 3400. That is the that is the difference between the two levels, ground floor and first floor. Now, because you have taken the center line option here, so let's click once and go with the grid and create the wall. Now you can see in the course view, the color is coming, and you have taken the exterior wall as the wall. Now here you can see that in this part, if you change it into a fine view, it will show the settings of the materials, not the type. So you are in the course view. Now let's say if I want to create an interior wall at this point, so I will go with the wall tool. So I go with the interior wall. Here I have the interior wall, and I will go with the interior brick wall 150 mm. Again, I have the center option. I can click into it. So interior wall. So put this chain option off. I will tell you what is the relevance of this chain option later. So put it off. So I have this partition from this point. I have this partition from this point. So now you have got 3 interior walls and 4 exterior walls. Now you can see in the fine view, it seems like this. It is a course view. So you can see that the elevation, the Y elevation was open in order to see that if it basically is going on the right way. So close the elevations right now. And now you can basically go with the 3D view. Let's first create the 3D view. So create the 3D view, go to view, click the 3D view, and in the view cube you can reset it. So here the material, basically if you look into the course view, here the plan, it is only for the plan. So fine view, basically there is only with the section. So we'll see how the section will work. But at this moment, go to the project browser and look in the project browser. You have got a default 3D view. So you can name it as the view 1. We will create some camera view today. So you say view 1. We can have multiple views, right? So let's come to the ground view, right? Okay. Now here I want to have some low height partitions at this particular point. So what I do is I go to the architecture, go to the wall and select the partition walls. So here I go to the interiors partition wall and then go for some partitions. Let's say I take a distance, sketch it randomly, and these are low height partitions that I want to create. This is the Bay Area. So I have switched off the chain option. So that's the reason I have to create it. So now if this is this is something that I want to create, I want to have a low height partition. So let's see how it looks. So in this case, let's say I will go for a tile view. So here you can see there's a wooden option. So here I want to change the height of these partitions. These are not to the ceiling. They're all low height partitions. So I select the wall, and in the properties, what I will do is I will use an unconnected option. So the moment I select the wall, and there is an option called top constraint. So give it as an unconnected because you're not constraining. It's a fixed height wall. Let's say 4 feet is the height that you want to create. Let's say I have a 4 feet, 4 feet height. So it is a, and similarly you can put it as 4 feet. So go for an unconnected option. So it is a constant height partitions that you can go for. So it's a 4 feet. So this is where you can have the 4 feet. Right. So here we are. So this is a 4 feet wall. So now you can see that there are, this is the low height partition that I was talking about. And if you want to have a split or an opening over here, so I will teach you to split the wall. So now to split the wall, select the wall, and there is a split tool over here. There's a split with a gap, right? With a defined gap between them. So you can see how the split works, right? So if I split this wall with single point, so let's say I want to split it here. So here, so in this case, I have to give two split lines to remove this part. And then let's say if I want a particular distance, I can, let's say it's a 1200 distance. I want to split it. So it is basically the distance that is 1200. So I can basically, if I want to have a particular distance, so 1200 is much. So let's say if I want to move this part over, I want to, let's say here, and I want to move this as 2100. So I can tell you how to constrain it later on, but this is how basically we can work on. So let's say if I want to have the elevation of this particular point. So now let's say I want to create the elevation of this particular point. There are two things. Either go with a section. So go with the section, view, section, and draft a section and click to a point over here so that the range is less. And here, you can go with the project browser again and go to the project browser and draft the section. So if you are here and here in the section, So now you can have a beautiful section of it. So here basically you can see in this section there are this is the wall, and you can have a fillet over here. Now I'll tell you how to give the profile of the wall at the top. So here you can have a corner tool at this point. So the section changes over here, and this is, so you can see it in the wireframe view also. The two lines will be seen here. So this is a, and then let's say if you want to have a, you know if you want to have a split, let's say I want to have a split over here, so split with a gap. So I can always have a split with the gap, and I can remove this part here, and let's say I want to have a different shape at this point. So I select this object, the wall, which is a wall partition, and there is an option called edit profile. So here, let's say if this section of the wall basically is going inside it, so I can align it to this particular point. So remove the constraint is removed. So, and you can see that this is here, and let's say I want to create an arc profile like this. So let's say I want to create an arc profile um, like this, and then go with this tangency spline, or I can always have the continuous tangent option, this one, tangent and arc. So that and then what I can do is I can select these two things, join it, and create a profile of this. So it is basically preferably that uh, we can create the profiles of the partitions at the section or elevation view. That makes us more better to visualize it. So you can see it again how it seems. This is a 3D view, and here you can see that there is a um, change. So now here in the 3D view also you can have a section, like in the 3D view in the properties, you can always go with the section. So there's a section box over here. So before that, select the object, go with the section box, and let's say if you want to see the section at the some kind of this, so you can always see the section in the 3D view. So this is the view that I would be looking for a better view of my project. In order to visualize it more better, so now you can see the sections of the wall, which is showing it me in a better position. So I can always have graphical display option, go with the shadows, probably with the ambient shadow and the background. That's my favorite one. And I can always go with the shaded option and see how it works. But so now let's say if I change the pattern, edit profile, let's say I want to have an arc option over here. So let's say I go with an arc here at the point, and let's say it's like this. So I can always see the change being done in the 3D view. So this is how basically we can do some partition, wooden work, right? But these are for unconnected height. So I would prefer that anybody who is working on parametric modeling uh, basically should make these features in the top for unconnected wall heights. Any questions you have? Okay. So as of now, so the wall height is now clear. So how do I create a wall height? So I am here in the wall section. Now let me say that you know the section, how to create a section. So we have got different sections of the wall. Now I'll go with the wall opening. Now let me delete this, and now I will go with wall openings. So now this is done. So now you can see the section is getting updated. So the section is no more having the so let me delete this view. That's the view one, and keep the sectional view. Let's design this space once again with some ceiling pattern also. But now, right now, this is a wall that I have created for the partition wall. I have got three types of wall, and one is the now the two types of wall are there, but wooden partition I've created again over here. And I'm just removing the section view here. This will basically delete the section. Right now I have two options. So this is something that has to be taken care. Now let's say I have again, now the height of this wall is right now to the uh, level 2. So we can change the height later on. So let me put another thing over here. Let me have another walls over here. So I have a wall, and let's say right now I take the interior wall partition. So here I go with the partition, and let's say the walking space. Now you can see the partition over here. The walking space over here is, let's say, uh, so now there is a clear space of, let's say, I want to have it a 15 meters, 15 feet, 1500, 5 feet clearance that I want to have. And let's say I want to create some kind of partitions at 5 meters to have some spaces over here. So what I do is I go to wall. So I can do one thing is I go to the wall offset, take a 5 meter offset, 5 meter, and here I can have a 5 meter. Now I can see that this wall has to be basically the partition wall, same type. So what I can do a match property. For match property, go to the view. So in the modify, there's a match property, select it, and it is matched. So now you have to see the height. Let me check the heights. The height in the properties is from the FFL to the top constraint FFL. That's fine. So this is a 5 meter partition over there. So now see the distance, the clear distance. So to do that, again go to the annotate, and let's take it as the face. And here I want to have a clear distance of, let's say, 5 meters, or let's say 3.5 meters, let's say. So it's very important. So 3.5 meters is a clear space. And again, I can now select this and go with the offset of 3 meters. So now you are having, so there is an open area over here. So obviously you can always do a kind of fillet. This is how you are developing this space. Okay, now let's say I have a, now I will be teaching you about opening in the walls. Like arch, like the opening in the walls means the cutouts in the wall. How do we do the wall openings? And we will be doing the floor and the ceilings and the furnitures later on. So we are 12:42, so we can go more 1 hour in which we can learn about placing components, creating 3D views, section views, and sheets. Any questions at this moment? Can I take a 5 minutes break or 2 minutes break? So you can ask any question. I'm just muting my video. Atif, any questions?
No,
Atif,
sir. No, sir.
okay. So how you are feeling now? Better than SketchUp? I will not. Right?
I think we'll concentrate in Revit.
Okay. So I'm taking 2 minutes break because the reason is there are a lot of concepts to understand, right? So that we can jump to the other part. So I'm taking it very fast because the wall session generally I take it around 3 days, right? Giving them detail about all the features of the wall one by one by one. So since we are doing a quick, you know, tour to the Revit, so I'm taking it very fast. So other thing that I can do right now is to add some plaster to the brick wall. So let's say this is the wall. I want to add a plaster in the interior part. So I have to understand which is the interior and which is the exterior of this wall. So let's talk about this. So I need a plaster and then a paint. So for that, I have to go to the uh, go to the I have to go to the edit properties, to the properties of wall. So here I go and say, okay, structure. So then I insert it. So in the insert option, there is one layer which is inserted and put it up. Make it a finish layer and make it a, let's say, so I want to make it, actually, I don't want to put the plaster in the uh, exterior part. So what I do is select it and you can put this down here. So this is, and make it as a plaster of Paris. So here we have a gypsum board that we can add to it. So here 15 mm. So there is a layer that is done over here. And I'll teach you about wrapping and other things, but let us. So here I see that the thickness of the wall has changed to 245. So 15 mm plaster gypsum wall board. So okay, now let me see how it is changed over here. So so now you can see that there is, go to the fine view now. Now this is the exterior, the interior. So the arrow is in the exterior part, right? The exterior is inside by the creation. So just pull the arrow and you can see that the plaster is basically in the interior part. So here it goes. And similarly, this wall, every wall you have to see. So again, click on this and you can just flip it so that the actual layer, so you can see the plasters are intersecting to each other, right? So now the plaster is here. So if you want to see the section in the fine section over here, so you can always have a section and see it, the plaster going. Right. So this is how basically you create a layer in the wall. Similarly, same, you have to change, just flip it, make the exterior part. So the arrow is with the exterior layer always. So now this is here. But for the interior partitions, we have to have the plaster at both the ends. So what I can do is just to, move this part. Is my screen visible properly? Okay. So for this, what I do is I select the interior wall, go to its properties, and again do the same thing. Now, what I will do is I'll go to insert, up, take it a finish, put it a 15 mm or plaster, and make it as gypsum wall board. And so similarly, go to the insert, make it down, make it a finish, and make it a gypsum wall board and 15. So here basically you can see that the interior wall thicknesses are now changed because the brick wall will be having plaster on both the side. So you can see that this is an interior wall. So it is not a 150 mm wall. The thickness is now changed with the plaster. So the plastering is done. So we can always have a takeoff material, and we can also have the quantity of plaster that is required, area quantity, area quantification we can do, but that is in the later stage we will do that. So so this is the type, and then for this particular, we can have the glazing over here. So I will show you how the glazing can be done. But before that, I will be doing up with the uh, opening. So let's say here at this, I want to create a opening at this wooden panel. That's a wooden frame is there. So let's say I want to create an opening. So I go to architecture, and there is a wall opening here. Select on the wall in which you want to create the opening. So let me first do one thing. Let me again drag the section box, drag it to a point where I can see the section of the, uh, okay. So now a 3D section can be seen. So I go to the wall, and let's say there's a wall opening. I click on the wall, and I say, okay, fine. So my extend is, just drag it. So now you can see the opening is object that is created. So the opening is, let's say, from 450 mm this side, and so its end are constrained to the wall, 450 mm constraint, and the height of the opening can be uh, from the properties. So from the properties, I have this ground floor FFL and the first floor FFL here. So now you can have the height like the top offset, or you can go with the unconnected, and you can give the unconnected height to 2100. So here you have this 2100. So this is how you basically do with the height of the opening. So now if let's say anything that you can do, like say if you want to have a uh, if you want to have a clear height top constraint that is from the FFL, you want to have a top constraint, right? Top offset, let's say minus 600 from the FFL. So you can always do it like this. And let's say from the base, you want to start the opening at 900. So you can do it like this. So you can put a glazing here, or a kind of, uh, you know, uh, glaze or a frame here. And let's say if you want to have the door from here, you can have it like this. Similarly, what you can do is you can copy this opening to the wall, and so the same opening will be copied, and then you can have the distances that you can work it with. So this is how we work on the walls in building information modeling and Revit, and we will see how the wall schedules are made. So fine. So this is what I can basically vouch on it, and then I'll create a floor. So now let's come to the flooring part. How do I do the floor? So first would be the structural floor in which the architectural floor will be laid. So we'll see how the architectural floor will be laid. So let's have the structural floor, and then we'll be having the PCC and the tiles into it. Then I will be going up with elevation sections and other views. So with this, what you're doing is you're creating the uh, general arrangement layout of the interior part, and you can see that the 3D section is getting created. So now we will be having a floor, and we will be having a architectural floor. So we'll be understanding what is the difference between architectural floor and structural floor. In the between, if you want to put some column over here, you can always have an architectural column or a structural column in between, which will be joining with the walls. So we can have the beams and columns. Yesterday, that the project that we were doing, so we were supposed to start from there, where we created the beams and the columns, and then we put the walls. So we can see how it happens. But let me create the floor. So I will go with the structural floor, but before that I have to create a type. So here I go and say I want to go with the type. I go to the project browser, and let's say I go with the type of the floor. So I take a 150 mm slab. So I rename it as slab 150 mm. So this is not an architectural floor. And then I can have a PCC. I can have an included PCC into it with PCC, or let's say 150 slab. I can have it happen. So here actually the slab is casted uh, in the slab is casted. So let me duplicate it. Continue without save, and rename it as slab 150 mm, and double click it. So okay, fine, 150 slab. Okay. So normally the slabs are done by the structural people, but in architecture, if you want to put the slab, it is always recommended to put a uh, boundary to the building. So here I go. So I would go with the structural slab, that is the floor, and here I select from the property the type that I want to create, and then I go with the tools like rectangle tool, line tool. These are the sketching tools. So I can go with the line tool, and let's say I sketch it to the point where I want, and press. Now, one thing I want to tell you regarding this. So this is the top of the slab. So now why not basically create a level right now for the slab to be rested. So let us create this as TOS, and let us create another level for the furnitures and other things. So let us create it as, let's say, ground floor. So this is FFL. Now, one thing that you will see, so I have the view also, that is ground floor FFL. So this is on the TOS. So this is something that I want to go for the layout. So here, this slab actually will be uh, in the level called ground floor TOS. But this particular partitions, as of now, will be starting from the base would be from the ground floor FFL. So there is a gap. You will see there is a gap which will be created. Okay. So why the gap is, I'll tell you, because I have to make it, let's say, make this as 75 mm. So there's a gap of 75 mm where the PCC and the floor tile will be laid. So we'll be talking about how to fill that gap. So this is something the FFL and the uh, TOS basically differs into it. So yesterday we did a class regarding, a long class regarding how the FFL and the TOS are different. So now you can see that now this is this wall and this wall. All the partition, wooden partition will go start from the TOS. So go to the properties, and the base constraint is from the TOS. So here we go. Now, next we'll be having a ceiling plan. Ceiling means we'll be creating ceiling for the false ceiling for the entire building. But for that, I would like that, the this level also has to be, let's say, the TOS. Uh, okay, because I want to copy this slab here, get a copy and align to selected levels and put it at first floor TOS so that the slabs are copied here. Now you can see that the wall, the height of the wall is basically finishing crossing here. So there are certain tools that you can do because they are on the same level. So if you can see that the wall and the height are overlapping, the wall and the slab. So let me do one thing over here. Let me tile it, draft a section. So I'll draft a section at, let's say, here. In order to see the intersection of the walls and the slabs. So just so double clicking on the section. So what I can do right now is, let's say, just to see how it works. So I drafted a 2D section. So in the section, this is a wall that I have selected. Now I want to basically, now you can see the property, this wall goes to the ground floor. And one thing I can do is I can have a top offset. I can reduce it to -150. So it will come down, right? But if I increase, let's say the slab increases to a point, let's say there's a height offset of the slab. Let's say I increase this, let's say from TOS it is 100 mm for any case. So what will happen? The wall, there is a gap. So there is no linking between the wall and the slab. So for that, what I do is I attach all the vertical elements, including columns, walls, to the slab. So how do I do? So let's say I select this one and attach tool, and here is the top option, and attach this to the slab. Similarly, I select this one. I can attach all the walls to the slab and see how it works. Now, if you look into it, the moment I do an attach option, so I go to the attach option, select the slab, the wall is pushed to the bottom of it. Similarly, I do an attach option and the wall is pushed below it. So attach option is very necessary. So you can continue with the attach option, because if the wall is finishing at the slab base, so you should do the attach option. If it is finishing at the false ceiling, do the attach option with the false ceiling. If it is finishing at the beam, then you have to do an offset option. So here you are. So now you can see that walls are getting attached with the slab. So you can see the section also. I can drive the section. You can see how the sections are created between the wall and slab. So this way, and here we are. So there is an attach option. So you can basically check whether the wall is attached or not by selecting any wall section, go to the property. So in the property, it will be given whether the wall is attached or not. So it is given top is attached, and top offset by default is -150. So here, okay. So here, this is what I have to say about the attach option. Now let's, if I want to get out of the section box, I can always go to the properties and pull the section box off. So I can get out. So now if I want to have the section box again, select it and go with the section box and just remove the slab. So you can see the interior part from here. So any questions still yet? So there is, there are a lot of things that we can do with this lab. So I'll come back to it, what we can do. So we have more 30 minutes where I will be talking about doors, windows, components, staircase, and one 3D view. So that's what the session today. And later on, we can have sessions on how to create, sheets and detailed drawings. So, and quantification. We can have special topics on that, whatever you require. But to get started with Revit, it is very important to understand the tools. There are a lot of things in architecture. You have got roof, ceiling. So I will take the ceilings also today. Curtain wall. I will show you how the curtain wall is done, and the rooms. So quickly, I will be taking those sessions, or we can have special sessions on that. But it is very, very exhaustive to have everything in one. Okay, coming back to it. So let's come to the ground floor part. Now I want to go with the doors. So there are some families which, as last time I have talked about, the BIM library. So we can have the BIM library, or let's load some door families for this particular project, and then we will see how to uh, go along with it. But before that, I mean, some of you might be very uh, waiting about how to create 3D views, perspective views. So I would generally tell you about 3D views, how to create camera views and walkthroughs. Later on I can come to doors and windows and we can work into it. So I will tell you how to create elevations, how to create section views, how to create a 3D view. Let's come up with the 3D view first. So let me close this one and close the section view. So we are creating a beautiful layout of the building. So I'm basically here at this point. So I want to I want to have a camera view over here and look the building from this particular point. Okay, and later on I will build the space. So let's say in the camera, basically there is something called field of view. There is something called aperture. There is something called height. So I'll be talking about time to time about how to get a stunning view, how to create the best camera angle in Revit. So that is my domain area as a photographer, or as a kind of my eye view, how I can teach. But it is a 1 point perspective view and 2 point perspective view. You can do both of them. But generally the camera view are 2 point perspective, but you can create a distortion and skewing of the camera to 1 point perspective. So to create a camera view, so you go to the view over here. So here in the 3D view, there is something called camera. So for that, generally the camera view is you have to give the height first. So let's say I want to stand it over here and I am at a human height. Let's say 5 feet is the eye level, and 5 feet from where? From the ground FFL, right? So I'm here and I want to create. So this is my source, and then I have to tell that what is my target. So right now, this is the 2 points that you need to set. So you can see the angle, conical angle. This is the field of view that we talk about. What is the range of our view? So in our camera view, you can see that the range is the left and the right. So I click on it, and then I can see a default view which is created here in the screen. So let us see how it works. So I go with the shaded option. Actually, I'm in a class. I'll be over by 1:30. So so there is a size crop, there's a reset target, and there are a lot of things. But let us first of all tile the view. So if you want to see the camera in it, so browser, So in the camera view, so there's a camera view that is created as 3D view 1. Rename it as camera view. And so here right click and say show camera. So you can always have the camera showing. And here you can see that there is something called, so if you see the camera, then what are the things that you can change? You can show camera. Okay. So this is the source. So you can have the inclination, you can change the direction of the view, and then there is the crop size. Now see, this crop size is basically the viewing range, this one. So you can have a scale of it, let's say height 150 by 113, or I can have a, let's say 300 by 100 and 300 by 150. So you can see the crop size um, will change apart, or you can basically have, let's say, the field of view like this. So how do you do is, rather than changing the width and the height, so you can always click on this part. You can change, you can have the skew, you can see that how the skewing is done here, and how the skewing is done here, and here you can change the view. This is how. And then always you have a preference of putting the target in. uh, this is the camera that you can have the, so there is something that the backend is missing over here because this is a shutter. So for that, what you can do is you can go to the properties, and always you can say, okay, I want to have the in the camera view, it is a perspective view. The eye elevation and the target elevation is fine, and but what I need to do is, there is something called the far clip. So I don't want to have a far clip, I want to see everything beyond this also. So I just put it off. So with this, I can see the depth of the, now you can see that in this view. So there are certain changes that I want to make. So the base constraint, I want to give it as FFN. So here I have this, so let me make more exposure to it. So I change one wall from here, and go to the project browser. So I can show the camera, right? I can have the camera view installed. Right, so this is, I can come here, I can change the angle of my camera view to a particular part. I can always build a, I can change the camera view bigger or smaller. So this is how I can build a perspective view, or and then the camera. So it's a very closed area. So we will be seeing it more often. We will be rendering it, putting some objects and the flooring material later on to see how it works. So right now, this is all the plaster work which is being seen here, and we can increase the size. There's a distortion that is there. You can see the distortions is happening here. So just put some kind of, so we can always change the camera distortion to a particular point. Apart from that, you can hover into the camera view by the steering wheel. So there's an orbit. You can always move the orbit, and in the orbit you can have the walk option. You can go inside, the camera will be moving. You can come inside, the camera will be going out, and you can put the camera up, you can put the camera down. So this is how you do a real-time kind of thing. Let's push it to a part where I want to reset the camera target again. So you have the show camera. Let's say, so here I have this camera view. So show camera view. So here there is, if you select the object, so there is options. There are a lot of options that I can go for, but you know, uh, at this moment of time, you can always change the option to a particular part. Let's see, I'm changing the target, and there's a go to view, and a lot of things that I can do here. Find referring views, go to view. No, I don't want to go to any view. right? So in the camera view, let's say over here, there is, you can reset the target. So the target has, changed. So obviously you need to play with the orbit, and you can always move the center to, let's say, a particular part from where you want to have the rotation. So a lot of tools that you need to work along with it. So let's have one camera view right now, and let us go with the doors and windows first, and then we will develop the camera. So let me delete this camera and let me position a better camera. Let's say I want to see the camera view from this particular part, and let's say I want to see this particular, I want to develop this interior of this particular part. So I have this view, and 3D view. I want to go with the camera view. So I have this angle and the height 1750 from the ground floor FFL. So let me have this, let's say this is the view that I want to see. And here, because the clipping is there, so let's say this is the entrance area. I would rename it as entrance view, where I go to the properties of it, the view. I go to the modify, go to the properties, and I just go for far clip active, remove this, and so this is how I can do it. And let's say here I can obviously change it to a particular point. This is, so I can make it a bit, you know, closer, shaded, so you can have this part. And let's say I want to have the ground floor, and I can want to see the camera. I can always have a better view, so I can see both of them, uh, both of the views at a particular point. So here again, let's say the camera view I want to set. So it's a show camera, and let's say I want to set it like this. Okay, so probably this might be one of the good views that we can create from the perspective point of view. So let this view be there, and let me make this graphic display option as shadow, ambient shadow, or kind of thing, so that better viewing options see. So so our area, our part is to develop this area, give some painting over here, have some seating arrangement over here, put a drops and a light into it. So we can do that. So can we do that today? Can we do that today? Are you there? Are you willing to study with me, Atef?
Yes, sir.
So can I finish this part?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, great. So please respond, because I should not feel that I'm getting uh, away from. So this is yes, Neha. So you're enjoying it. So sessions are getting recorded, and I hope a lot of people will benefit today. So now I want to create a flooring. That means this is the finished floor that I want to create. There's a gap over here, you can see. So let us create a flooring first. So I want to create a PCC, let's say 55 PCC with a, let's say, 20 uh, cover, or whatever I want to go. Total 75 I have given, 50 and 25. So 25 is around 1 inch. So I can go with a marble kind of thing, or what a flooring I can put. So let's go with it. So let's keep a floor. Now I'm going for an architectural floor. Now I have to see that this floor is at, not at the TOS, but at the top it has FFL. So I have this sketching line. So I start sketching from here. So this is from the outer part, because the inner part will be having a different flooring, or I can give the flooring till the center of the wall. And so this is, again, you have to see that there's a plaster over here. So this is where I create, this is the entire one flooring that I am doing, and the flooring for the other rooms may be different. So this is the flooring that I have done. So this is the and then I have to see what type of floor I am taking right now. So I'm taking a generic floor at this moment. I will develop later on. Duplicate. So marble on PCC. So marble on PCC. So let's say I can duplicate it and say marble PCC. So let's don't worry about it. We'll keep it again. So let's say the core is the PCC here, which is, let's say, here is 50 and structure, and I have a PCC, or I can take concrete. So here it is a concrete cement creed, and at the top I have the marble of 15 and I can always give a wooden flooring or a marble. So I can go for a marble, or see if there is no marble, so can go for stone material, or I can create my own material. So uh, floor, let me see if that's, so I can go with a so there are a lot of flooring, so I go with the ceramic tiles, let's say, for example, at this moment, and see what are the tiles which are available. So right now I will create my own tiles, so you can go with interior flooring or a, so that's a different session that I can take, but right now there's a ceramic tiles which is, or I can go with, let's say, right now oak flooring or something kind of thing. So let's say I go with this flooring, so that it makes life better. It is not always a 25 just I'm giving you an example. It may be around quarter inch or a half an inch. So let's not go along with the actual thickness, because I have to fill the 75 part. So okay, so every time it is showing me to save it. So 50 up, 50 going to finish 25 Okay, so now it is 75 so I can go up with, let's say, this one I can give it as concrete. This one I can give it as, let's say, floor. So floor, I can go with this, let's say, oak floor. So I will tell you how to create the floors. So here, this, and save it. So this is how you can do. So here you can see it. So there is something called the retrace view. You can see how it sees. Now this gap is covered, right? So a bit of rendering can be done at the view itself, not the rendering actually. That is only the view. And 2021 it has increased. The realistic view is has gone to a point you can see more realistic views. So there's a ray trace model. So it takes more RAM time or the graphical memory. So for rendering, I will prefer to have it on Enscape later on. So this is how it works. So now you can see, the section also. So let's go to the section view. So I create another 3D view here, where the section, I can see all the three of them. I can put it at the same time. So here we are. Now here you can see the live section. So now you can see how the PCC is laid over the slab. So this is how it works. So now all the furnitures will come above the flooring part. Okay. So you have the flooring done. Then we will be putting some couches and lights and painting, and then we will have a ceiling to it. Now let's come to the ceiling part first. I have to have a ceiling that I have to have a ceiling that will go 8 feet, and these, please आप लोग जाओ यहाँ से, go outside, and these walls will be going to the ceiling, so there will be a change in the height of the wall. बंद कर दो दरवाजे को बेटा, just a minute. So So I'm doing a tile view right now in order to see how it works. So there will be a lot of changes that will be happening. So here to create a ceiling, let's say I want to have a Armstrong ceiling, reflected ceiling. So you have to go to the reflected ceiling plan. So go to the browser and you have this you have this you have to go with the project browser here and go to the reflected ceiling plan first. So here you have the reflected ceiling plan for the ground floor FFL. So here what you need to do is, so this is a reflected ceiling plan. So there is something called ceiling. So by default there is uh, ceiling for the false ceiling with the channels, right? So I have this architecture. So now you have to go to the architecture and there is a ceiling. So ceiling, then you can select, you can have a compound ceiling or you can have a a basic ceiling. So I have a grid 600 by 200 and the height I keep it as, let's say, 8 feet 3 inches. And so now if I click on it, so there are two things that I can do. Automatically it will uh, take the ceiling, take the boundaries and create the ceiling over here. So now you can see that the in this section the walls are cutting the ceiling over here. So what I need to do is I can basically attach these walls to the ceiling so that it comes so detached target. So because of the opening, because the openings are creating problem over here, so I can always have the openings. Let's say this particular wall can be attached. This particular wall can be attached to the ceiling here. So there's a problem. So select this and okay. So this is attached to it. Now you can see. Similarly, you can attach the ceiling till okay this particular point, and this particular part can be attached to it. Now what we can do is more. So so what I can do is I can select the openings and drag it to the point where the openings will be now subjected to the ceiling part. So now my sectional elevation will help me in order to do the opening. So there is a sectional elevation that I have already created. So this sectional elevation, so I can drag another section elevation here. So it can be from here to here in order to fix my opening here. So this sectional elevation I open here, and I can see that the openings can be driven to a point where we can set, let's say, the height of the openings here in this case. So I can select it, press the tab key. So the height is 900, that is fine. And here also press the tab key. I have to press on the height of 900 and that's fine. And then I can go up and pull it up to a point where we have an uniform opening system. So now all the partitions, now you can see that in the 3D view, all the partitions are now to the ceiling part. So this is how this is now you have got two part. This part is called the plenum part where the air conditioning ducts will be going, and this is the fall ceiling part. So now I can do some detailing and a lot of other things I can do in hand. Now I want to come back in this 3D view. So there is a steering wheel. I can always have this walk option where I can basically walk back to see how it works. So we will be doing it in Enscape also later on, how it looks. Any question? So if you want to create some custom ceiling, like a POP or the ceiling work, I can take a session because this is where I can do a sketch over here. This is this is a ceiling that I am doing it the for the that is the default system value. So here uh, so now I'll be going for a door and window. So now you have this uh, things done. Now I will go for a door and window and make it complete at the point to see how it works. So my camera view is at this point, so that I want to develop this 3D view. So there is, so I can see this wall, I can see this wall, I can see this wall, I can see this wall. And then if I want to come back and see this wall also, so I can come, go to the steering wheel and just drag back, right? So slowly go inside. So I can be a bit slow, or if you want to fix it, just come over here, go for the section camera, show camera. So here, so you can have a bit of inclination, or kind of move the target to a point. It can show some part of the, or you can hide the wall which is in back. Let's say if I want to hide this wall, so I can hide this wall here. So I don't want this wall to be here, but let not be, you know, the criteria. So this is a good view to work into it. So come here. So let's put some door and window. And in the architecture, I go with, so for that again, I have to go to the family. First of all, insert some doors and windows, load family, and go to the door family, and go to the residential door. So let's me have some, take some good doors, let's say single glass panel door. So you can see, so this is one door that I can have. These are fixed door, fixed. So so there are a lot of doors over here. You need not have to worry about the, the doors, because it is all available in the families. So I take this door as one of the door. So that's fine. So this is one door that, and sizes that I will take is, let's say I can go beyond 750, 700, and so I'll be taking a 750, 850, or I'll be taking a 900 by 2000 size. So one door I'm going to put it over here, because that is an access to this space. And here in the architecture, go to the door, and first thing that you need to do is go to the properties first, and hopefully in the properties you can come here and say okay, fine. So you are at the constraint, so you can see the constraint as, click it over here, the sill height is 0, and swing angle is 90 degree. It doesn't matter. So you want to show the grills, okay, fine, I want to show the grills. So here I go and click on the door, and you can see the none of the created are visible in reflected ceiling plan. So okay, I was in a reflected ceiling plan. I should be in a floor plan. So I'm in a floor plan now. So you can see the door is available here. So you can size the door as per your requirement. So now go to the type properties of it. So now here you are. So you can see that the swing angle, you can have 45-degree swing or whatever swing angle that you want to have. But now the level is from FFL. So if you see the section, let's say if I drive a section of the door, so what I can do, I can create a detail of it. Like last time we were talking about using AutoCAD to create the detail. So I can go to the view and I can go to the section, and in the type I will go for a detail. So let's say I want to create a detail of this. Um, so I can take a section from here. I can just hang it like this. I can create a detail of it. So double click on it. So there is a detail of the door. So let me get the uh, to 1:20, or You can see the detail now. You can basically pull it down and see what are the detail of it. So this is an elevation detail that you can see. So you can see that how the wall detailing is, and it ends at this place, and there is no interior floor over here. So because of that, the gap is there. The floor is at this particular point. So that is where the detailing is. So so in the project browser, you can see that there is a detailing that is done here. So there's a detail view. So you can always have it as a rename it as a door detail, and that's it. So, and the sizes of the door can be seen from the type properties, like the properties you are having over here, edit type, and you can have the sizes and other part of it. So everything is given over there. Just have a look into it, and then you can. Similarly, there is a door over here. So I can have a dr command, and I can have the door at this particular point. So there is a door over here. So what I can do is I can flip the door. So there is the instance property. The door is having the head height as 2000. So if I move it, the sill height will change. So if I move this as 2100, because the height is fixed. So now you can see the sill height is 100. So let it be 2000 because the height of the family is itself is 200. So let me put it like this. So there's a detail over here. So let's an elevation over here, not a section. So I go here. So there is an elevation option. So I want to have an elevation. Just put the elevation. Uh, you know, just you can put it and move the elevation to a part where you want to do it. So there is an elevation that you can create. So there is one elevation that is created here. So this is the elevation of the door that you are looking for. So here we are with the section, we are with the elevation, with the detailing, and if somebody wants to have a detail in the plan itself, so go to the project browser. I want to have a window detail in the plan. So there is something called callout view. So let's say in the ground floor GA layout, I am here in the FFL, and somebody who wants to see the detail of this door. So there is in the view, in fact, there's a plan view we discussed about, elevation I discussed about, and there is a call out view. So I have a call out view, a rectangular call out. You can sketch it also. So there is a call out view which is created below the, you know, so this is the call out view. So you have this ground GA layout. So this is the call out view that ground floor GA layout. So you can have the call out view in the detail. In fact, if you look into it, detail 0, there's a call out view that is created. So this is a call out view which is there in the detail. So now you can create the detail, you can annotate it, and you can do a lot of things into it. So if we are having next session, I can discuss more about how to create this detailing and start working into it. Right. So let's come to putting the window, same as door. So insert. So you can have a window over here. So internally there is, because when we are doing an interior space, probably windows may not be required, but still I can give one. So I can have a fixed window kind of thing. So architecture, insert. So go to the load family, and same you can do with the window. You can go with the window, and you can have this window here. So here. So top, and then there are different types of, let's say, windows that you can select. So there are a lot of in the Revit families you can do, and let's say I take it one like this, and I take a size of this, and I put it here, the window at the exterior face, because some light will come because the moment I do a rendering. Just hold on, I just put a charging on my mobile phone. Just hold on. So let me come here. So finally, what I'm going to do, I'm going to push some furnitures and lighting. And so here I am into the architecture, I am into the window. So I selected the window, like in the properties, I can go and see what is the properties of the windows that I'm seeing. And let's say I put some windows over here. If you want me to put some window in the interior part, I can put it just for the visualization. So, but it is not required. And I can have a door over here in the interior part. So if I'm creating a 3D, you can see it like this. So I can have the door at the out, and just pull that. So you can see the ceiling at the onset. So you can remove the ceiling in the part. So now you can see the sectional view of the building. Let it be like this. So let's pull some furnitures and put some light over here, so that we are done with the today's session of setting the view, right, at a particular point. So I would basically take a furniture, um, which can be from the uh, BIM library. So let's put this, because it's a live video. So I want to take the BIM library as a part of it. So let me Google it. It will take 2 minutes of time, but the things will be very good. BIM library, I go to the BIM object. So I take some good furnitures and sofas so that I can put it inside. And so let's say I take a sofa. Let's say I can take this sofa, download it, download the Revit family, download the material and texture. So log in with the Autodesk account. So we can always have the texture into it. Account. So, going inside. So let me download the furniture for a part. Okay, so it is there. So this is having a problem. So let's don't worry about it. So let's go to the BIM object again. So already I am there in the BIM object. So there's not a worry. So I go to the furniture, sofa. So the sofa, okay, and the sofa, I come up with, let's say, this one, foam sofa, and download this. I go to the material and texture and download the Revit family. So there are two things that I want to do, and this is how it works. So let me put it here to show in a folder. So this is the downloaded folder. I select both of them and put it in my project library. And here I go. And now I will do the same thing that I did for did for the other families. So let me put a sofa here, insert. Uh, so I go for a load family and go to the folder in which the sofas are there. So it will take a bit of time. And here we go. And I'll put some lights in the so it is asking me to save it every time. So I will save it this time. So now you go to the components. In the component, you will find all the, so place a component. So here in the properties, again, you go select the property 1-seater or a 3-seater, and you're in the ground floor. So you can always press the space key and place it over here. So, so probably it might not be having the texture. So this is how you put it here. So if you want to have a single seater sofa over here, select it, and you can have a single seater sofa. So you can have a 1-seater, and then, so we can do a lot of things here. And I want to add some human element. So in the insert load family, so go to the seat. So here you have the uh, the program data, and in the program data you have this Autodesk folder, and then you have this RBT 2020, and in the library you have this metric library, and then there is an entourage RPC file. So entourage, you have this uh, one male and a female. Do it like this, and you can put them there standing over there. I can have human figures uh, throughout. So again, go to the insert. So you can go to the insert, and so it is already loaded. So the component, if you find here in the component, you find that these RPCs are there. So there is, in the properties, you can see there is female RPCs are there and name are there. Let's say Lisa. So I'll put it here. So this is how it works. So let's say the RPCs are basically realistic photo uh, elements. So you can see that if I put her here, so she can be somewhere here itself. If I can have more people over there and start working in. So this is how, and put some light to it. So let me put some light to it. So then we will do a rendering in Enscape, as well as later on we can see how it works in Revit. So let me put here. So here we are. Let's say let us go to the project browser, and let me put the RCP plan again. So ground floor FFL, this is the RCP plan. I want to put some lights over here. So for lights, again, we can have a lot of big sessions on light also, but let me go to the lighting. Here we have the architectural lighting, internal lighting. So I can have the ceiling lights, linear box. So I can put the ceiling lights at a particular point. So for that, again, I have to go to the components. So here I can have some components of the light. So I can place it at this box. So in the view, you can see the lightings are there. So this is how the lighting are done. So there are a lot of lights. So this is giving you illumination. It's not a light. It will give you illumination. So let's do Enscape right now. Let me save the file. So I'm going to take it from here in the next class. If you are doing so, if you are interested, I can go for it and develop more things and understand about the families more. So this is what the preliminary interior architecture that can be done, and there are a lot of things that we can work into it. And finally, to see a bit of to see a bit of Inkscape in action. So I wanted to bring Inkscape right now because I have something that I can show in Inkscape. So here I am into Inkscape, and let me bring the Inkscape at this moment. So I take this. Uh, so my view here is the entrance view. So start the Inkscape because I'm not going there. So I have got this evaluation. So how was the session? So I'm going to end it now. Final before we see the rendering in Inkscape. Uh, how was the experience today? All participants.
It's really nice, sir. It's really nice.
So how do you think right now? It is very fast and fast in the sense we can do a lot of things, right? In planning.
Yeah.
So only the concern is about the rendering. So let's see the quality of rendering, and we can achieve it in a better part. So we can do walkthroughs also. Uh, I'll just after doing the Inkscape, I will show you the walkthrough how to, and everything you can learn from here. The recorded videos are there, and there are a lot of things that we can learn. So this is preliminary rendering view. This is getting filtering. Uh, it will be getting filtered. So I think there are settings that I can do to make it more clear. So at this moment of time, so you need to check the settings because the settings will be coming to high, low, or whatever it is. But I need to give time, more time for it because it's now very hazy kind of thing. So I can have the daytime. Uh, right? So I can change the lighting, like I go to the night time. So my mouse is not working at this moment. So I can see the light. So I'll change my rendering setting to a part. You can see the how the time is changing. There are certain settings that can be done in order to make it more realistic, but I'm just showing you an very instantly because the system that I'm having right now is so all the settings are done here in Revit itself. So here this is totally into you can walk inside the room and see. So all the rendering is done very light. So I'm going inside it and move it down. So it is taking time for me to move the camera. I can change the head direction. Okay, here. Go inside. So this is how basically I can do real time. So I'll show you on the quality of this. We can and it is too realistic. So with this, Atif and everybody, I'm finishing the session, and all the YouTube people who are watching, thank you for watching this live session. So I'm sharing this in my WhatsApp so that people can see this video again. So here, so any
Thank
question?
you.
Any questions? So before you say thanks, I know you will say thanks, but I want to hear from you. So thank you may not be, a good compliment for me. Right? So please, you know, tell me if there is anything that you want to ask or work into it. and so that things can. So I'm stopping my live session. So just wanted to have a quick discussion. I think Swapna is here, or Ritu ma'am is here. So how do you think, because